Hi, and welcome to day 9 of the 30-day digital challenge. Now, for anyone who is tuning in or is new to watching these videos, we bring you digital marketing tips and training for 10 minutes a day through live learning. Now, we host these live on Facebook, we share them across all social media channels, but we also host all recordings in the Facebook group. So make sure you join us on Facebook and you like the page and obviously join the group. You can follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn as well, and you'll see all of the videos daily. Now, today we're going to be looking at email marketing, and in particular, the best tips for running email marketing campaigns in 2018. Now, one of the things I want to say is we notice that so many clients that we see are measuring what we would call vanity metrics. Now, what's a vanity metric? Well, we seem to get sometimes hung up on how many people are actually opening an email. And the common sort of pitfall is we fall into this trap whereby what we're doing is we do a follow-up campaign. Now, it might sound like the most sensible thing to do by sending an email campaign out and then following it up with a second campaign to everybody who opened it. Now, what actually happens is the majority of us use things like Outlook to view our emails. Now, they all have what we call a preview pane. So we see the email before we even actually open it or do anything with it. Now, what that does is when we're using email marketing software and tools, it actually marks the email open, even if you click to delete it. So we can't use these metrics in isolation to see how successful an email campaign is. So try and think about what the call to action is in an email. One of the biggest call to actions that gets neglected every single time we see campaigns is think about what you do when you get a normal business as usual email. Well, what we do is we would read it, and a normal human response would be to reply. Now, how many email campaigns do you see that actually say, for more information or to find out more, just hit reply? It's the easiest call to action for any of us to do. And it's a great opportunity because instantly you're having a two-way conversation and you've recognized a lead. So try and think about whether it would suit a campaign. The second thing I would urge you to do that will really give you a massive uplift in terms of open and a reduction of delete is send all of your email campaigns from a person. Now, by sending it from an actual human being, it's more likely, number one, we're going to reply to a person, so Dawn at Business Consult rather than marketing department. It also looks more business as usual, so we're more likely to open it, and it's more personal. You know, if somebody replies and says, Dear Dawn, they know that they're talking or feel like they're talking to a human. They don't feel like part of a mass mailing. Now, the other thing to do is think about your topic and try and avoid, stuffing loads into an email because we want an email to be short and sharp. Majority of us are using mobile phones. You know, we're checking our emails all of the time. And one thing to avoid is that newsletters are probably something that really we've moved on from. And it takes on average normally about 3 hours to actually create a newsletter. And you know what? Putting that sort of information out through social media might be better. So say, for instance, Roy's been promoted in your organization, which is fabulous news for Roy. Well, what we need to do is tell everyone about it. Now, if you pop that in an email, yeah, some people will read it, but Roy's not getting any recognition. If you post that on social media, at least all Roy's friends, family and team members are going to comment, like and share. And he's going to get some recognition. It's going to be some nice news and accolade marketing for your business. And it provides a lovely sort of culture around the organization that you're celebrating your team and you value them. And it's going to be easier content to kind of digest, like little snippets. You're front loading the news into there. So think about maybe everything that you traditionally would put out in a newsletter, break it down into little social media snippets and pop it out on your social media, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and let people engage with these small bite-sized pieces of information. I guarantee you get more value from that, even if someone just reads it. It's easier to consume. We're overfaced with content day to day. Now, the other thing is we can replace newsletters with something a bit more exciting, something that your consumers are going to prefer. Now, what's that? Well, tools like MailChimp have amazing tools that will automatically send like a weekly digest. So we could say, right, every Tuesday, for a selection of our clients, what we do is we send them a Tips Tuesday. Now, this is an email that automatically sends at 11 o'clock to a list, and it does it without fail, without us even having to press a button. What it does is it looks at our blog content, and we will have written, say, 2 or 3 articles every week, and it knows how to obviously look for the content on the blog and things like that. If you're interested in running, and you'll see if you subscribe to something like Runkeeper, they're sending you a weekly digest. And these are things like articles that, tips of getting into running, improving your running, training for running, eating for running, anything to do with the sport. And these are all tell, not sell. They're helping us through. They're adding value. Now, that's going to have a far more beneficial impact on your relationships with your customers and consumers, because you're providing something that they want and that's helping them. And they're more likely to come back to you again and again. And it's a great way of keeping in touch. Now, what we do know with Digest is that if you send them at a regular time every week, then we know to expect them. So they tend to have a higher open rate. Now, things like newsletters and digests are great. What you can do is you can pull dynamic content through from your website, as we know. And as the website changes content, then the content changes in email. Now, we're all about making things more efficient and automating things in business. So try and think about how you can really kind of automate some of the processes. Maybe with emails, what you could do is make sure that if somebody signs up for a guide on your website, that you don't have to have any human resource attached to that. You can automate it through things like MailChimp. And all you do is you set up a rule to send an automatic email every time someone's added to it. Now, another thing in email that we're loving at the moment is the use of video. And again, with tools like MailChimp, you can use video. It has a little play button. It just adds engagement. And again, moving images, animated GIFs in email, fabulous. Because what happens when we open email, we're giving it 3 seconds to see whether it's, interesting or what's in it for me. If you grab our attention with something moving, then we're far more likely to read it. So video, moving images, or maybe a countdown. We use tools all the time to add countdowns to events. Again, something moving, motion in any content is always going to be more enticing. Now, think about your subject lines. Try and think about them not being too salesy. Things like tips and digests are great because you can say that it's weekly tips and articles. People are more likely to open something about tips than maybe a sales and marketing promotion. Yes, it's fine to send offers and things out, but we don't want to flood them. And the other thing I would say is personalizing email, but only personalize if you're 100% sure your data is right. Why? Well, tools like MailChimp, if you have an empty to name, so for instance, your field first name is empty and you don't have that, or it's just 2R, if it's empty, MailChimp replaces it with dear friend. And that's never good in an email marketing message. We want to kind of make sure that it's personalized but correctly. Now, segmentation and using things like lists, segmentation or groups is great, because what you can do is have one master list and then be able to segment it with customers and prospects. But you can set up groups whereby people could be interested in multiple areas of your business. And you don't want to have them in one list and then have to set them up in another, because that leads to problems with unsubscribes. I would always recommend having a master list and then setting up interest groups. So if somebody was also maybe interested in, for like an estate agent, buying a house and letting, they would exist as in a group, which is still feeding off the same data from the list. Now, what I would also do is look at managing your data as a whole through a CRM that links into your email marketing tool. So common tools that people use today are things like Zoho or HighRise, which is a free CRM, great tool. And they all hook up to things like MailChimp and they integrate. So they pass the data back and forward, again, reducing the whole issue with sort of data processing. Because what HighRise does is, as soon as somebody emails you, say, an inquiry, and then somebody emails them back, well, in business, what happens is we're very good at answering emails, but what happens to that data? Now, sometimes we get dragged away and it's no fault of the staff or whatever, it's just we're busy, and that doesn't get recorded on the central database. Now, what HighRise does is it negates the whole issue of the fact that businesses lose about 40% of data a year through that. It copies all of the data and sets up a contact. As soon as you reply, use a blind copy email address. These are fantastic tools and things that are such time savers. And it removes human error because it's doing something, it's automating a task that, is often boring. At the end of the day, no one's going to die if the data wasn't updated. But, from a business point of view, losing 40% of your data could mean quite detrimental impact on your lead generation and customer conversion. So, if we've got 3 seconds to engage with someone on email, try and think about breaking it down into what's in it for me, and maybe use sort of a who, what, why, when approach when constructing the content. Try and avoid using templates, because the temptation is that if we see something that's the same look and feel and we didn't like it the first time, then we're not going to like it the second. So mix it up, because I guarantee if I show an email template to 10 people, there'll be a split. Some people will love it, some people won't. So try and think about making your creative specific to each campaign, and then roll that out and then refresh it with a new look and feel, and keep the brand consistent with your colors, etc. Now, hopefully that's brought you some good email marketing tips. Now, tomorrow we are back with a topic that some may love, some may hate, but GDPR. It is new regulation around managing and holding data, in particular sort of email data as well. So it's affecting a lot of businesses. And incidentally, we had the ICO, the Information Commissioner, on a course this week. Now, we were teaching GDPR and we were trying to get businesses to understand that it's not scary. It's really easy to actually make yourself compliant. So they were really pleased with the way that we were kind of taking the message and taking the scaremongering out of it, because it's a simple process and it should benefit both parties, both the end users who are receiving emails and also businesses. It should really aid with our email marketing campaigns and make it better. So tomorrow, tune in for day 9, which is all about GDPR. We're going to be demystifying and putting into lay terms what that means for your business. What do you have to do? What are the steps that you have to implement to make sure you're compliant and you're holding data and storing it and recording it and being able to prove that someone has opted in? Now, hopefully we will be able to make sure that it's non-scary and also the most simple process, because we're going to break it down into a couple of steps to take the stress away. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. And if you've enjoyed our tips video so far, please help us on the journey and comment, like and share. The more people that you can share it to, the more successful the challenge. We're bringing digital tips to as many people as possible. We're looking for 1 million views and to reach 1 million people. So help us on our journey, and we will see you tomorrow. So have a great weekend, and we will see you for GDPR.